Hey, welcome back. We have a set of knives for you here today. Hopefully it's not too beat up there. These are just in from CJRB, one of the, I think the artisan, oh, look at that. No knife needed. The artisan cutlery website. And I don't do a lot of budget knives anymore, but I saw a few that felt very compelling. It looks like that one's got a fancier box than the others. And so we got 4 for you today. So this should be interesting. Now, a couple of them are versions of the Pyrite, which is one of my favorite budget knives. Just something I'm very passionate about. And like as a budget knife, I think it's like one of the best ever made. Kind of does it all for a budget knife for $49. And then a couple of them are new models I've never checked out before. So let's get into them and see what we think. Let's start with the CJRB Prado. This is a model I've never handled. And let's see how that goes. We'll just move these over to the side here. This one comes in a slightly fancier box, it looks like. A nice little pouch in here. So they do, knives of varying values, and I think this one was slightly more expensive. Comes with a nice little cleaning rag there. Comes in a pouch. And let's get into it. All right, I have never tried a crossbar lock from CJRB. That one feels very strong. Wow, that is a big knife. Is this real wood or is this fake? I cannot tell. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's real wood or not. If it is, it's quite nice on the finish. If it's not, it's leaves something to be desired. This guy, biggest issue I have right away with it is it feels very front weighted. The handles are carved out. I mean, the overall weight ends up being pretty light for a big old like 3 1/4, 3.5 inch knife. But yeah, interesting bar lock feel too. Having had a lot of bug outs, this one feels like it interacts, like it's got very strong springs. So interacts very aggressively with the blade travel. Like you can see, can actually like gravity knife. I've never seen one do that before. So look, I'm gonna keep moving here, but this one, light on the handles, big on the blade. It's definitely a nice big Laconico design, huh? AR, RPM 9, nice little machine grind here. The blade itself is nice. I really like it. I don't like the handles on this. The shape is good, but the material, the lack of, really nice rounding off on the corners. It just feels a little square on the corners. It feels cheap. The handles on this feel like a $20 knife, and the blade feels like a $70 knife, and that's kind of a weird combo. But overall, like the feel for the blade, the jimping on it, the blade itself is really nice on this guy. So yeah, I'd say 0 for 1 on that for me. It's not terrible, but not something I'd recommend. CJRB Prado, interesting. Okay, let's see what we have next. This one will require a little, what's the best side to open on this? Looks like maybe this one over here. This is the Bowie Pyrite. So a different variation of the Pyrite, slightly different blade shape. And let's see what we think of this guy here. Also, it comes with a pouch stuffed in there, the smaller pouch. Ooh, this one, I remember when I found it on the website, I was like, ooh, that's kind of an interesting blade and an interesting handle. I think it's using the same material, but this little inlay just adds a nice little effect. Boy, I don't know what that material is. It's really throwing me off a little bit. It feels like, I don't know if there's something on here that says, it says ebony, but I don't feel like it's real ebony. So hard to say what that is exactly, but it's a nice look. Like, compared to this, it makes the knife a little more interesting, especially with this Bowie blade here. So I'm going to use that fuller right there. And man, just as usual with these guys, I like the action. This one has both thumb studs and a fuller, so you can kind of pick there. I think it's the same thumb stud. And you can actually kind of flick it off the fuller, which is nice. You don't have to go on the thumb stud. You can go right here off the fuller, which I really like. That blade is pretty sweet looking. Let's take a look at that. interesting. A little too aggressive for me on the Bowie. Like I'd like that angle to be more like that, to be a bit more, it just feels a little imbalanced. Like you got this huge long fuller and then this really short stumpy thing on the front here. But overall, the knife's quite nice actually. Like if you think about what it is, I think it was 50 bucks or something like that. Pretty hard to beat what it is for $50. It grips a little nicer in hand than the traditional one just because it has this kind of warmer inlay on it. I'd be curious to see what it weighs by comparison. Some nice jimping that runs far up the blade just like the regular one. And then you have that extra fuller. So, you know, for someone that's looking for something just a little more interesting than the standard Pyrite, I'd say this could be a really nice option. The action on it's great out of box. Pretty much what I've come to expect. I have had a couple of them that had a bit more lock stick. This one has a slightly more lock stick than that one. It might work its way out over time. But yeah, not a lot to complain about here. You can reverse flick it off the stud or off the fuller. I would go off the fuller on this one. Makes it just very easy. I blocked that one. Oop, just did it again. That's funny. There you go. So yeah, that's a winner. Like it's not like my, I don't know, I'm going to throw that one out. I kind of like this drop point blade a little more, but it has some qualities that I like more than it. The one thing I'll check really quickly is this guy's a little heavy because it's steel, and this thing does not feel lighter, so it's probably, gosh, it kind of looks like titanium here though. It could be a different finish than the steel one, but it kind of feels like it's titanium. 3.4 ounces, so not a lightweight. 3.74, so a little lighter there. Yeah, interesting knife. Okay, let's keep moving here. We'll keep the scale out just to weigh and measure, and maybe I'll do some measurements on some of these as well. Let's see what the next one is. Rose Gold Pyrite Light. Okay, yeah, I saw there were a couple options on this one. And this one kind of caught my eye. I'm going to try opening this one from the top side this time and see if that works better. The last one was a little tricky to get open. Yeah, it actually did work a little better. Okay. Boom, I got to keep this stuff together. These things all end up in the same packaging. That's interesting. This one came with a sticker and a cleaning rag. The other one didn't have the sticker in it, so random, but maybe worth knowing. This one I liked because it was like a lightweight version of the Pyrite, supposedly, allegedly, based off the advertisement, and then it had that sheep's foot blade on it. I'm just going to go right in here for a close-up for you on that blade, because that is, that I don't know if it's gold or rose gold, frankly, but it's a pretty cool finish that you don't see on many knives, so a little more interesting there. This one does have a slightly stronger detent, it feels like. And just a very different feel. It's a bit, because it's plastic in the handle, it feels a bit more, just a little rubbery when the action, you know, opens and closes. One of the cool things about this guy over here is you get that nice little smack. This guy is a little more like muted. It's there, but a little different. Can't really seem to roll this one out. This just has a bit of a stronger detent on it. Can't even reverse flick it, and I'm not terrible at reverse flicking, but it just has a very strong detent. So that's a little bit of that variation that you get with budget knives. They're not always gonna have the best QC, but overall, you know, for your draw cuts and everything, that's a pretty sweet blade shape and a pretty compelling design. Now let's see what lightweight means exactly. You've got this PVD here, by the way, on the pocket clips. So that's a little different than these other ones. Let's see what we get with lightweight. Whoop. Get that zeroed out. Remember we had 3.7, 3.4, 2.8 there, so definitely quite a bit lighter, more than half an ounce lighter than that one, and almost a, what was this one? Yeah, almost a full ounce lighter than this guy. So I'd say it lives up to the promise. The scales themselves, they have this nice little look to them. It's looks like an embedded liner inside of like an FRN or a rubberized scale or something like that. It feels like you can pull that up a little bit, so it doesn't feel bad in hand. Like you can squeeze the heck out of it and not feel any give. So it does grip well. I actually like the grip of this one more than that Prado. Just the edges being a bit more rounded off. So yeah, that guy's nice in hand. Interesting knife, and another interesting variation of the Pyrite there. All right, and let's get into the last one of the group. This one I believe is also a different model that I haven't had before. This box over here, and let's see what we think. This one is the Shale, the Stonewash, the Shale. So we got the Prado and the Shale are two new models. I don't think, maybe I have checked out a Prado before, but in a different build. I feel like I have, but maybe I haven't. I feel like there was one that had like a, maybe this is because this is the Prado with the, and one thing I'll say about this, by the way, these are sharp. They have like a pretty sharp edge on them. Hear that? That's not very nice. Weird. This is a really weird knife. That one would be a return for me, frankly. Just weird weighting and stuff. Here we are, the Shale. Let's see what we think. This one had a couple very interesting color options. The ones that were on sale had a bit more color like this. You can see it's kind of got like some combinations of colors. I'm not quite sure how they did that there. Maybe layered together, you know, glued them up and then cut them out or something, if I had to guess. I don't know exactly what's going on there. Looks like probably a glue up. But yeah, it gives it a pretty nice looking effect. It feels like what would be a very nice feel in hand. And then this is that bar lock again. This one doesn't feel as sharp, a little bit there, but nothing that really stands out like the other one. And then here you've got like, I guess you'd call it more of a clip point blade, kind of a modified clip point with a little jimping. Wish that jimping went up a little further. For smaller hands, that's probably fine. For me, I'd want that to go a little further up there. I'm not a big fan of when the knife like goes up. I kind of like things to have better continuity. I don't mind it though if it fits in there really nicely. This to me is, for whatever reason, it just appeals to me a bit more. It just, you know, it lets you be a bit more flexible with the blade. But I do like the bar lock on this one. It feels better than the other one. The other one felt like kind of disruptive in the way it would work when you would go part way down and it could kind of disrupt the blade along the way. Again, here we have AR RPM 9. They do it on pretty much all their budget knives. I am not a fan of their AR RPM 9. I've had very minimal use of it. I actually gave it to my brother to field test when I was cleaning his knife, and within a few days he had it pretty dulled out. So, you know, versus S30V, which isn't even that great on the edge retention, this is like a fraction in my experience. Maybe that was just that one knife. You never know. Maybe that one had a poor heat treat on it. Hard to say. You know, budget knives, $49. Can't expect that much. But overall, this Shale does feel, the one thing I would like here would be that choil that you get on the other knives that they have here. That would make this one feel like a good overall knife. Without that, it's good, better balance than the Prado. So like it has Pyrite-like balance here where it's very intuitive. These steel scales are a little less so. You have a little bit of handle heavy, but I personally prefer handle heavy to blade heavy. Blade heavy feels very awkward to me. Handle heavy, you know, I can deal with that because it's falling into your hand instead of out of your hand. My 2 cents. Nice little stonewash on the blade though. Good feeling. I mean, this feels like it's probably a little lighter too. So what are we doing here? I don't know what's going on there. 2.8 ounces, so even lighter than the CJRB Pyrite Light, right? That was 2.85. We had 2.8. So that feels like a really nice little, you know, I could see carrying this. I could actually see gifting this one to someone. This would be a keeper for me to gift to someone that's not really a knife person. I just want them to have a knife that's functional and works. You know, the bar lock is very intuitive and easy to learn. People could roll this out. You know, it doesn't take, you don't have to be a ninja or anything to use a knife like this. See if it's, yeah, you can reverse flick it nicely. I like their bar lock. It actually has like a good amount of pressure. It has this kind of interesting, like, you can kind of, yeah, shoot that out of there if you're pointing it down. It's almost like a gravity knife little thing, where I don't remember the bug out pushing the blade that hard. That's pretty crazy. That is straight up and down. And you can get it to go out. That is definitely, I don't think this does anything like that. Like it's not even, I wonder how they're doing that. They must be putting some sort of ridge in there in just the right place to cause that. That's pretty cool. I've never seen that before. You basically have an automatic there without a spring, so it's more reliable. Does this guy do that? I will say that is a pretty cool feature that I don't think I've seen on other bar locks. So I don't know what they did to make that ramp differently or whatever when it's in here, but this basically hits the forward part. So they've ramped that. Let's zoom in for you in a place where it'll actually, for some reason my zoom's not working right now. There we go. So you can see this moves forward, hits right there, opens it up. Interesting, they have these little like lines on the bar lock. Not seen that before either. Does this one have the lines on it too? No, this one doesn't have it. Interesting, but it does have that same ability to hit the ramp and shoot out of there. Let's get the scale out of here now. Turn it off. Whereas this guy does not have something sitting in front of the bar lock, so it feels a little lighter. And I think that's why it doesn't disrupt as much on the way down. It feels a little more luxurious. This one has a little more noise in the travel. But, oh, we got full lockup. That's not something I can say for, if you want any action on these, you got to have a little bit of blade play in my experience. This one is, I think, on bearings, and so you get really strong lockup there. That's really cool. So credit there. Let's check the other ones for lockup. No blade play. Don't expect it on a button lock. That one has a little bit. This one's probably a return for me too with that crazy D10. I don't know if I could maybe adjust that somehow or something, but just feels not quite right. So yeah, a couple nice ones out of this. This guy here with the Bowie ends up being pretty nice. That one's well balanced too. And the Shale I like. The Prado would be good, but these handles, it just needs something more substantial for a blade that big. Just to put this in perspective, we're talking about a very large blade here. This is a big knife. And to compare it to the Pyrite, since we're talking CJRB, instead of a 7 1/4 inch knife, you've got a overall length of 8 1/2 with a blade of 3 3/4 and cutting edge of 3.625. So for a big knife, it just feels like a very light handle there. I don't remember if I weighed this or not, did I? Sorry if I did already. But it's very light on the handle for the size of the knife. I'll give it that. 3 ounces flat for a 3.6 inch knife. That is definitely a cool thing about this. The launch is cool. Again, never seen anything like that before. That's kind of a neat engineering feat. But man, these handles are just chintzy, and you have to, like, the balance points like at the pivot. Maybe a little behind the pivot. If you're anywhere near that finger, it feels like the knife's gonna fall out of your hand. And that's just not a good feeling to me. So aside from that, the knife seems fine. Like, nice little rollout. I like the finger hole, but I don't like the fact that you can't get to it very well. It's definitely a little hard to get to. So yeah, Prada, not my favorite of the group, as you've gotten the impression at this point. So that is all for now. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Comment if I made some mistakes and let everyone know what those are. And appreciate you spending a little time on my very rare these days budget knife review, or unboxing rather. This was not a full review. So that's all for now. All right, take care.